So are you
Hello,
guys?
everyone. Oh, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the April webinar. Thank you for your flexibility. We know we changed it from last month to early this month. We're looking at Jennifer O'Brien's screen because we were doing, trying to make sure everything worked before we started. But our first presenter today is Melissa from the Clayton team, and she will be providing a Colorado Shines virtual rating update, soon to not be virtual, hopefully. Okay, Melissa.
All right, I've got some slides to share here, so awesome. Okay, so you guys should be able to see my slides now.
We can.
All right. Great. Perfect. Okay, so we're just going to start off. We're talking a little bit about our current status right now with Colorado Shines rating. So let's start here. So we are continuing to conduct ratings virtually using the modified revised versions of the scales until visitor guidelines change through CDE or CDPAT. So we're still doing ratings virtually. Current guidelines that were sent out, and I'm going to send a link in chat after we're done here for visitors. These came out early March. State that they're still recommending virtual visits. And when a county's COVID dial is green, Colorado Shines assessors could conduct visits in person following health screenings and protocols. So that's the current guidelines out there right now that we're following. So to be determined on when we'll be back in the field. So the next piece here is we will give providers at least a 90-day notice before we go back to in-person visits. And we will use the third editions of the scales. So currently our inter-rater reliability team are continuing to offer free virtual trainings around the ERS-3 scales for providers, and that'll be through 2021. So another link I will share after I present here is a link to our Clayton training calendar where you can check for those free sessions, have providers check, and they all will be labeled free. And those are just half-day overviews of the scales. So again, we're hoping to return to the field late in fall 2021, but still do not really have a time frame as we continue to navigate the pandemic. So waiting to we're also working on finalizing the QRIS framework refresh, and Karen's going to be sharing more information about that in an update later today. So now I want to just dive into a little data so I can share kind of what's been happening with virtual ratings. So from October 2020, which is when we first launched the virtual ratings, to February 2021, we've completed Colorado Shines ratings virtually in 30 counties throughout Colorado. So in the map, the counties with the redder hues represent the counties with the most programs rated, while the counties with the bluer hue represent the counties with the least amount of programs rated. So this is just a really nice visual to show that, you know, these virtual ratings are occurring throughout Colorado, and we're reaching a lot of counties. Next visual here. So this chart shows that since July 2018, there have been 517 programs that have had their ratings finalized. So you can see the virtual rating, which is the teal dots, has produced a higher average in ERS scores when compared to the traditional rating, which is the orange dots. So we anticipated this would happen. As a lot of you know, we've NA'd a lot of the health and safety practices, a lot of interactions. So we anticipated a boost in scores, and that's what we're seeing in the data. And then although we've had 70 virtual ratings finalized, which is about 13.5% of the ratings over this period and on this chart, virtual ratings account for 31.4% of level 5 ratings. So you can see, even though they're a small percentage of what is totally displayed here, majority of them, or a good majority of them, are in that level 5 range. So there's just a little bit of fun data for you guys and a quick update, and that's really all I have today. So I'll share those links in chat to the Clayton training page where you guys can access free training on the environment rating scales. And then also another link to those visitor guidelines that were sent out early March, so you guys can see those too. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Melissa. Next up, we have Jennifer O'Brien from the CDE team with a PDIS credential update. All right, Jennifer, we'll let you share your screen now.
Thanks, Monica.
And we can see your desktop.
Okay, let me do some adjusting then here. Okay, so one sec here, let me. Okay, so hi everybody, I'm Jennifer O'Brien. I'm with the Early Childhood Workforce Development team at CDE, and we also have Renee Alarcon, who is the PDIS Service Administrator in the Office of Early Childhood at the Department of Human Services. And we're going to give you a quick PDIS credential interface and temporary workaround update. So as many of you know, the credential scoring engine has been having significant and ongoing issues that resulted in a closure in November and then again in February. At the beginning of February, we decided that we needed to develop a temporary workaround that mimicked submission, calculation, and notification in the PDIS. And we set a target go live date of March 1st. So in less than a month, we totally reworked our business process and either created or modified technology tools to support that process. We also created a couple simple resources to help programs with the new process. And on March 1st, we hit our target, and February QRIS rated programs received a link to the temporary credential request form, a short video about the process, about the new process, and a tip sheet about how to use the form successfully. We also have an FAQ link to the banner on the homepage of the PDIS about the process. So just a word about prioritizing requests here. We've always prioritized in this way, but as we have reworked our process, we've had to think about this really more explicitly, and because we can't do the volume of the work that we did previously, we've had to communicate our priorities to our partners and stakeholders. So as always, we prioritize, priority number one is licensing, when licensing requests and expedite. So these are situations where a program is at risk of closure if there are no qualified staff. Our next priority is QRIS, so current QRIS rating windows. Also, we prioritize when programs request a resubmission. We're trying to keep trainer credentials and coaching credentials going as usual, so that those credentials and those professionals don't really feel the effects of all the changes. And then we also prioritize director qualifications when they come from the individual over at CDHS who handles those director qualifications. And then when we feel like we have that top row in pretty good shape, then we dip back into the PDIS submission queue. We haven't forgotten about that. We're still very much working the queue in the PDIS. We've got about a little over 2,000 submissions in there currently. So that will keep us busy for a bit. So here's our timeline slide. We were able to deliver the February credential data to Clayton 24 hours early. We were really happy and relieved because, as many of you know, when you're starting things, you really don't know until you get those gears turning. You don't really know how things are going to work. March, April, and May programs are submitting currently using the temporary credential request form. And, you know, as many of you know, March, April, and May are our busiest months. So the team will be working very hard to meet those deadlines. A number slide here. We've had about 460 submissions so far, 400 completed requests. We're also doing a little bit of time tracking so we can get a sense of how much we can do in what period of time. Gosh, our max time was right around 2 hours, our minimum time 5 minutes, the average time per submission is about 25 minutes. So this workaround is taking us longer. It's not nearly as fast as when we can do things in the PDIS. So for example, when we get a request to just view credential information, right? Previously, a user could do that with no help or effort on the team's part. But now it takes about 20 minutes to provide that information. And if the information in their account is incorrect, it could take much longer. So just to give you a sense of why things take a bit longer now. And then one thing I'll say really quickly is as far as the fix going into the PDIS, we don't have any firm dates for from our vendor right now, so we can't really talk about those just yet, but when we do, we will let you know. So that's it for my presentation. Are there any questions for me?
As always, if you have questions, you can type them in the question box. Nothing yet, Jennifer.
Okay. You know, I've been talking with a few of you either over the phone or through email, so please feel free to reach out with any questions or concerns. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much. All right, next we have Lilith and Aaron from the Denver Early Childhood Council doing part of the EC Connect Sugar work, and they will be demonstrating the new reconciliation process. Lilith or Aaron, who's presenting? Who would like to share their screen?
I'll be presenting. I'm going to put it up now.
Okay. We can see your screen.
Okay. Can you see my slideshow?
Quick review of reconciliation on a blue slide deck.
Yes. Do you see the notes on the side?
Yes.
Okay. Hold on one quick sec then. Whoa. Is that better?
Yes. Thank you.
Woo. Try that.
We just switched screens.
I lost it.
Now we see your, is that your little guy?
Yep. Yes. I lost. So, just give me one quick second. Okay. All right. Again, everyone can still see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Perfect. Okay. So this is just a quick review of reconciliation. I know that this is still kind of a new process for people, and so we just wanted to give a quick overview once more, kind of focusing on the focal points and really important bits of this process so that when councils are doing reconciliation, that we're not running into any issues and it's really streamlined and smooth. So the first thing here is just to ensure that this process runs really smoothly. Start at step 1, go through all the steps, and there's 6 steps in this. So the next step, step 1, is receive the monthly reconciliation reminder email. That is going to be sent to grant leads at the beginning of each month, and it's going to come from a support@ecconnectcolorado.org. So please make sure that you have that email in your safe sender list. So the next step, step 2, is going to be reviewing the following reports, and those are unbilled spending and unbilled coaching. The links to these reports are provided in that reminder email, as well as the step-by-step documentation. And you can also star them and search for them and star them in Sugar. These reports, can you turn it off, Sweet Pea?
Stop! Mom?
Yes.
Kim?
These reports pull all unbilled records from the current fiscal year, so that when a record is marked.
So can I have more milk?
Yeah, hold on a second.
Okay, 1 moment.
Many things going
Okay,
on.
1 moment.
Yes. Take this to the living room, please. Thank you.
Alexa, set a 1 minute timer.
No timers. Okay. So essentially, when a record is marked as ready to bill, it will show up in your summary report. So the point of this step, checking these spending, the unbilled spending and the unbilled coaching, is to make sure that there aren't any records floating around that you really want to have reconciled within your summary report. I also wanted to add that this is a step where you can add missing things from that unbilled report. I have a link here that I want to share. Let's see. All right. Can everyone still see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, so this is the unbilled spending. These are test records, but this is the unbilled spending report that you're checking. And I have the unbilled spending, unbilled coaching report as well, but I'm just looking at this unbilled spending report for this example. You want to go through here, and I'm going to just use a test record. Ooh. All right, so we're gonna hit apply. You would put your team name if you have any other councils that you're sharing information with. And then you can see here, when you pull up, when you put in your team name, you can see here that you've got a couple of different statuses. These are mostly draft, receive quest. A couple of them might be canceled, ordered, things like that. But I see here, oh, I've gotten approved and ready for finance. And that actually really needs to be moved into the reconciled status. I don't want to miss that record to be billed for this month. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that spending record. And it's going to take you to the spending record where you can update the status there manually to say reconciled. And again, these are test records. So what would you like to do? I would like to mark this as reconciled, lock editing, and then save. And from here, it's going to move that into the status of reconciled, and therefore it will show up and be pulled in with your summary report. So just real quick checking and making sure, oh, I don't have any more records that I really, really want to bill for. I don't want to miss anything. So, there we go. So this basically is, we really, really don't want to skip this step. Do not skip this step. It's what you use to make sure that everything in your summary report is accurate, matches your records. They are the records that you want to bill for. And so if this step is skipped, then you potentially leave records that could be missed or double billed or skipped entirely later on. So definitely want to make sure there's no records floating around. The next step that are really, really crucial to this entire process. We've done step 2, we've checked and made sure that all of our records that were kind of floating around out there are in the correct statuses and moved any that we want to bill for into the correct status of reconciled. And now this third step is double check your reconciliation reports. And that is really important because if you do your steps in the wrong order, then your reconciliation report is going to show up blank. And whatever shows up in these reports, in these all spending for OEC reconciliation and all coaching for reconciliation, is what you're going to bill for that month. So I have another test record here. Pull that up. We've made sure that everything is showing up in this all spending for OEC reconciliation report, matching it to your financial records, making sure that everything you have as spending and coaching, all those expenses match this report. And then you can go through this report for all coaching for OEC reconciliation and look through and make sure all of these statuses are reconciled and locked. And if I say, actually, you know what, this one really isn't ready for billing yet, there was kind of a snafu with it or something was backward or I need to make a price adjustment, again, you can go into that record and you can change it. You can take it out so that you don't want to bill for this month. You can move it into a different status. And really the same way as you would with spending, you're just moving, please open for editing, and you're moving it into a different status that is not reconciled. So, because this is a new process, we have fixed a few reports for councils when they were run, that something was incorrect or needed to be edited. And moving forward, we do want to make sure that we're doing this as little as possible. And so again, this step 2, this step 3, comparing to your financial records in your system and making sure that you're seeing the records you want to see, that nothing is being missed, is going to be crucial to making sure this process runs really smoothly. So step 4, everyone loves this step, pushing the button. You know, making sure when everything is ready to go, your financial records match, all your unbilled spending is totally fine, nothing needs to be moved into reconciled. You've looked at your all reconciliation reports for the OEC, everything looks great there. Then you can go and push your button on your funding stream, your CSQI 21 funding stream. A couple of things with this is this marks all records contained in your summary report as billed to funder, as well as updating a new billing period to whichever month is currently happening. Therefore, it's important to make sure this report includes correct records. And again, which we remember going back to our steps 2 and 3, we're making sure that we include all of the records we want to bill in there. It means you can now find these records that are in this summary report in the previous billed reports that we have in the step-by-step guide. And we can go ahead and pop that step-by-step guide into the chat as well, so everyone has that link to it. All records for OEC reconciliation report, previously billed report, they will no longer show up in the all OEC reconciliation report. So when you generate this summary report on your CSQI 21 funding stream, all the records you were looking at to make sure that they were in the reconciled status will no longer show up in your OEC reconciliation reports for coaching and spending. So it takes them out of there and puts them in this nice little summary for you. So if your OEC reconciliation spending or coaching report is blank, that's most likely the issue. Generally, you want the invoice to match what's in your summary report. And so, you know, the exception could be for internal coaching, which you would want to match the actual expenses incurred by paying your staff to be providing this coaching. So if your invoice is not going to match what you're putting into the invoice, please, you know, do let the OEC know. And then one more thing I didn't actually mention right away is that we have this new reconciliation reports field for spending and coaching. I'll get to that in just one second. So, you know, you've got this, you pushed your button, you generated your summary report, and now this also produces 2 detailed reports. And you can see one of them here, and my next slide will show them as well. Those are the detailed reports that show all of the records that were contained in your step 3 reports. So although you can't see them in the step 3 reports that you looked through and made sure everything was in a reconciled status, you can see them for submitting to the OEC within these links. And then a quick note, if those links do not work, you can scroll down to the reconciliation subpanel on your CSQI 21 funding stream, and you'll have the links to the documents there as well. So, this again, step 5 is using the summary report to fill out your OEC template. I highly recommend that you complete this process by the 15th of the month, just so we're not running up against, the end of the month, and if there needs to be anything that needs any updating or extra assistance with or anything like that. And then, as I talked about here, you've got your coaching report, that's a new field, and your spending reconciliation report, that's a new field. So when you generate your reconciliation summary, these two fields will populate with all of the records that are contained in your summary. And so you'll want to take those reports and submit them with your OEC invoice as well. So that's kind of like a really quick overview of the really, really important steps of the process. Again, you want to start at step 1, end at step 6. Don't skip any steps in the process. It's just going to make it a lot easier to do this process, especially if you're doing it for the first time. And if you've read through the step-by-step guide and you're still having trouble, we do have a FAQ on our support site. And we can go ahead and pop that in the chat, the support site there in the chat as well, and it's up on the screen as well. And that FAQ, I printed it out. It's basically, whatever common issues or themes we were seeing of things coming up, whether it's in the help desk or, just popping up randomly, we tried to address those issues and make sure that there was a pretty good, simple solution or a fix to kind of address anything that was coming up. And so, a couple of them were, why is my coaching and spending detail report blank? So that kind of goes back. All right, let's try this again. Okay. That kind of goes back to when you are generating your summary report and you now have these two nifty detailed reports to be sending along in with it. If those are blank, that means that you didn't have any spending that you did for the month, or that you didn't move anything into a reconciled status before you began this. You do want to make sure of timing when you're running your summary report on your funding stream. You want to make sure that all records are reconciled in that reconciled status, and for coaching, reconciled and complete or canceled billable before you push that button. If you reconcile anything after that you wanted to be included in this report, it won't know that because you've already generated your summary report, and so those would have to be included in your next batch of billing. So just a timing piece on that. So definitely check out that FAQ on the support site, and if you still have questions, and I just keep closing them so I can get out of there. If you still have questions, then you can definitely reach out to me with any questions on the support site. And I am happy to do the first week of the month of just Zoom, FaceTime, regular calls, whatever it takes for anyone with lingering questions or issues to help resolve that. I know maybe not everyone learns the best through email or maybe even reading it out or talking it out. So I'm really happy to spend the time with any individual councils if they may need it to just kind of look at the same screen, look at all the steps and kind of talk it through. Sometimes myself, it just helps better to list through what I think I'm having a problem with and see if an aha moment comes. So that is kind of our presentation. I don't know if anyone has any questions about that.
Thanks so much, Lilith. Go ahead and type any questions you may have into the question box, please.
Apologies for the slideshow troubles there.
No, and thank you guys, both you and Aaron and everyone else that does the support questions over with you guys on your team. You've been super responsive and we appreciate it. So nothing yet for you guys, but if you do have questions, just send them an email at that support@econnectcolorado.org email.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, next we have our team, the CCQI unit updates. We have quite a few topics under that. So Karen, what would you like to talk about first? Or do you want me to share the good news first?
Sorry, Monica. Why don't you go ahead and start with that? And I'm going to send Debbie a note that for her to jump on in about 10 to 15 minutes. So.
Sounds great. Okay, let me share my screen. Okay, so pretty exciting news for all providers. We had told all of you that for the first time in the history of QI dollars, we ran out of money, which in fact was not true because we were missing $2 million. So what we did yesterday was add $1 million to the pot for targeted QI and then another $1 million for the expanded QI. So, excuse me, extended QI. So if you have programs that have submitted applications for their just that regular $2,100, $2,800, or $3,500 or capital improvement grants, go ahead and have them apply. If you find that your council can manage that during this timeline, because we know it is close to that cutoff. So once again, there's more money in the pot. What you can determine whether you want to provide an extension to your programs or not, you need to go into Sugar, and let me share my screen to show you how you can do this. You don't need to get the okay from Michelle, Charlie, or myself. You should be able to do this on your own. If I can figure out how to share my screen, I will demonstrate that. You basically just need to change the date under the application. So let's see. And some of you will know how to do this. So are you guys seeing the HSQI funding stream? Maybe.
Yeah, we are.
Okay, thanks, Charlie. So I guess just since I have this pulled up, it is good for councils to, I don't know, monthly or however often you want to go in and you can check this, we call it the parent funding stream, and that way you can see what is still available to all programs within the state. So this is for HSQI right now. And you'll see that right now we have the total budget was just over 1.4 million and the funds available to allocate are 1 million. So that means that we still have $1 million left over for programs to apply. So you could look at this or go look at the CSQI parent funding stream. What you're gonna do though, now they're not letting me into Sugar. Hold on one sec. What you guys will do is go into the funding stream, whether it under HSQI or CSQI. I don't know why it's not letting me log in now. Hold on. And I know I probably won't remember my password. Okay, here we go. So what you're gonna wanna do is go into your regular funding stream. And remember, my view is going to look a little bit different because Michelle, Charlie, and I will have every council listed under our Sugar access, but you guys will just have yours. So let's say you go under your CSQI funding stream, and I'm using ECPAT just as an example. We'll let this load. Okay, and then you're going to go under your application setup. And right here, you'll see your QI application deadline. Go ahead and click the edit button. And then you can change this date to whatever you want it to be. And then you're going to save it. So what that means is that you'll open up the deadline for all programs within your council to continue applying for this money until it's spent. We're not making this announcement broadly to all programs because we know that councils, depending on your finance team or whatever you have going on, you might actually want to have already closed the application deadline, or you can keep it open as I'd say probably until May 1st. It's really up to you guys. Please reach out to Michelle, Charlie, or myself with any questions. Does anyone have any questions now? Oh, was this your April Fool's Day plan? It's not actually, but
It's actually pretty funny that Rachel.
yeah, that is pretty funny. No, it's not. So I do know we had quite a few programs that we're going to apply for capital improvements, a few for just regular QI. So have them go ahead and apply as long as you think your team can manage the spending, because they do need to spend these funds by June 30th. Any questions about this? Okay, only have a couple folks wanting to apply, and that's good. Yeah, all right. Well, that's it. So that's the good news for today. Karen, take it away.
Okay, you're gonna have to make me the presenter, I think.
Yep, I'll send it over.
Okay.
Did you get it?
Got it.
Okay.
I keep getting these pop-ups saying that my internet is slow or something, so bear with me here.
I can see your presentation though.
You can?
I can, yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, great. Okay, so we wanted to do an update for you guys. We're starting to ramp up our work on the refresh, on the QRIS refresh, and realized, not meaning to be delayed here, but that we really haven't done an update for you guys, and you're such a integral part of this work and partner that we felt this was a good time to do this. And we did do a Rocky Mountain conference, so in case you get questions, was another reason, but it was very well received. We of course didn't send out like a whole new draft because it's not final at this point, but we took some of the newer standards and just kind of said, what do you guys think about these and how would you go about meeting these? And generally speaking, I think that went super well. So we're going to share just a few of the highlights. If I can figure out how to make my screen move. Oh my gosh, sorry. What in the heck? I can't get the next screen to work. Hold on, it's always something. Oh, maybe I have to do it on here. Okay.
There we go.
That's the problem when you use 3 screens. So, okay. So just as a overview and just as a reminder, we did convene statewide group, multiple different roles across the multiple different areas of the state, all the way back in fall 2019. Does that not feel like forever ago? And some of you participated, and we really appreciate that, so thank you. We also included some of our field level experts from the Build Initiative and the TA Center, and we also had a larger consultative group that was surveyed just to make sure that we were on the right track with the focus areas, which were, really looking at those, what we're trying to gain, really more outcomes versus outputs, making sure we had good inclusion and equity focus within. elimination of duplication. We found quite a few standards in there that really just didn't need to be in there. But a lot of focus on relieving provider burden, which was, of course, really exciting for people when we presented this at Rocky Mountain. And then some simplification in the scoring process without, changing the rigor of the overall rating process. So far, what we have done is we are retiring 15 standards for family child care homes and adding 4 new. And for centers, retiring 21 standards and adding 12 new. So obviously, do the math, we're reducing some of the standards, which is one of the things we still have to work on a little bit is around the scoring and how that all will play out. But we retired standards that were either redundant, no longer supported by data, or just were not relevant. Either everyone was scoring yes or everyone was scoring no. Hi, Deb. And And then we also we've got some standards in there supporting families in needs and crisis, and focus on continuous quality improvement. So what you'll see when we share this out will be things like, I've got a plan, I've shared the plan, or I've executed the plan, I've shared the plan, or I've got a plan, I've partially implemented the plan, I've fully implemented the plan. So we tried to scale that so that people were, focusing continuously on those standards and how to build their quality around that. So workforce wellness, teacher supports, teacher benefits have all been enhanced, and honoring coaching for administrators. So where there is, where administrators are doing like maybe business training or things like that with coach, we definitely wanted to recognize that. I am struggling with my cursor right now. Sorry. Okay. So the outcomes, again, relieving that provider burden. So what we're trying to do here is just make more of our standards observable, obviously reducing the document upload and scanning process as much as possible. That probably won't go away, but it will, we will scale it back with making those more observable or doing more questions to staff or parents to help us get a better picture of what's happening within the program. Simplifying the scoring. So this might be new news for you guys, but we are going to remove the minimum points per standard area. And that's I think that's gonna really make people happy. Number one, they're gonna understand it a little bit better. It's more focused on total points in all standard areas. So as long as they're scoring some points in each standard area, then they'll be just looking at total points for their rating level. And again, not finalized on that. We still got quite a bit of work to do on where those cuts are. For family childcare homes, more of a focus on just recognizing how important and they are with their family engagement. Lots of continuity of care in family childcare homes, and we really want to honor those practices, a little less on the leadership management and administration. And we want we really heard family childcare providers just say, this doesn't work for me. You're trying to put me in a bubble that I don't belong in. And so I think that with some of these changes that's going to support better engagement. At least we hope so. And then with centers, more focus on leadership management, administration, and workforce professional development and how well they're supporting their workforce, since we all know that is the foundation. So what we still have to do, we still have to finalize scoring. We are having one of our vendors take a look at just the indicator language. It's got a little bit of feedback that, some were written, maybe they didn't quite understand what was being asked. We'll share with stakeholders. Actually, it'll be, I was just about to say in April, it is April. So we'll share as quickly as we can as soon as we get some of the, especially the indicators. We might not even have all the scoring finalized, but we'll get the indicators out to folks so they have time to kind of sit with them and think through that. We are obviously going to have to update the Colorado Shines data system, the word system cut off there. And so that will take place this fall, of course. We're looking, our hope is an October 1st implementation. Of course, that's subject to change based on what we, learn as far as when we can actually get back into programs and, get information out and be able to do some training on this new process. So I think that is my last slide on that. Yes. So I'm sure there's questions, but is there anything that anybody wants to kind of discuss right now or not? You can wait and we can continue just to give you some information as we continue to work on this.
No questions yet.
Just checking. Oh, you guys are awesome. Okay. Turning our, I know what's going on. I've never had this many issues with my computer before. Okay, yay. Okay. So next topic, and thank you, Debbie, for jumping on with us. And we know this is just an interesting time with this new grant, and we're learning so much as we go through this. And it seems like every new application that gets marked eligible, we learn something new again. Just want to thank you guys for hanging in with this. It's been challenging for our licensing team. It's been challenging for you guys. It's been challenging for us. This is such a great opportunity for our providers. So we're getting through it. We're working really hard to update the guidance, especially the guidance for you guys. As you guys have been great about asking questions, we've been trying to get those things put into the guidance document so that you feel empowered to, find that information. So let's just take a look real quick where we're at. So as of the end of March, and we do keep statistics on a weekly basis, and we are actually reporting these up to our leadership team. We have 90 applications received, which is just amazing in a month's time. So we have 7 of those that have been marked eligible, 12 that have been marked ineligible. So basically all of those applications were applications. Most of them came in early. They weren't exactly sure what this was all about, but they were ineligible because they were not actually increasing capacity. The really great news about all this is that the licensing team has been actually offering them opportunity to say, well, you could do this. It would make you eligible. You could consider, going from a experienced home to a large home, and really working with them to try to give them options. If they're marked ineligible and at some point in time down the road before, June 30th of 22, they decide they are, they do want to reapply, they can. So we did have one application withdrawn. Yes, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, to your point, Karen, I think a lot of applications came in before people really understood what they were applying for, because it was right after our sustainability grant, our COVID relief grant. So we are really trying to work with them. And another thing I wanted to throw out there is for child care centers, there's been a lot of confusion on the ages of children that they have to try to increase those capacity slots for. So it is 0 to 5, but a lot of our preschool classrooms, what we have found out is they could possibly increase the amount of kids in the preschool classrooms in order to qualify. It's much more difficult, and most of our infants and toddlers are already at that 10 or that 14 for toddlers, 10 to 14 capacity. But sometimes there's some wiggle room with the preschools. So that's kind of where our focus has been. And then like what Karen said, we had a lot of family child care home providers initially apply, and they were just the regular or not just, but they are the regular 6+2 license capacity. So they would have to change their license to either an experienced or a large. So those are some of the messages that we're trying to get across, that hopefully they'll hear that from the early childhood councils as well.
Yeah, and then just one other point that Debbie was making with that, we did actually get 1 or 2 applications where family child care homes were trying to enroll more infants and toddlers, but it doesn't work actually within rules and regs. And so it was, they're thinking, thoughtfully, but they also have to stay within the rules and regs for their
we still have that 2 under
type.
2. They could change to a 3 under 2 license though, and that would add them one additional child, which would make them eligible.
Okay. So where you see the 75 applications under review, wanted to chat about that as well. Basically what that means is that there is some additional information that we're needing before we can mark an application eligible. It might mean that the licensing specialist has reached out to the early childhood council and they're waiting for them to review the budget. It might mean that the program had said, well, I'm going to add a new classroom, but they haven't actually submitted the paperwork to add the new classroom to the licensing team. So those are things that, we just hold these as under review and follow up with any paperwork needs or, if budgets needed to be approved or whatever. So then once we get the, okay, everything's in, this makes sense, this works, then that's when they're being marked eligible. When marked eligible, that's when those dollar amounts get pushed over to the sugar side.
And we've definitely tried to explain many times now to our licensing specialists that we want them to reach out to the early childhood councils before we mark a program eligible, because we know that the councils need to review the budget first and to make sure that everything in the budget is making sense and that you're approving of that. So hopefully that's working a little bit better now. I know when we, just a month ago, we still had a couple of occasions where we marked some things eligible without consulting the council. So we apologize for that. And hopefully things are running a little bit smoother now and more communication.
Yeah, and I do want to, and let me just move on to the next slide because I have that listed there. We do have a new entry point. It's on the provider hub now. So we're, of course, changing the guidance for that as far as, where people actually can. But it's a nice big tile on the provider hub, which everybody has to go through now anyway. And so they'll see that there. And it allows us also, as new grant opportunities come up, we can just add them there as well. So we're actually pretty excited that that worked out that way. Pending licenses, we've had some issues with this as far as not being able to see attachments, maybe not being able to see the full information within the application from the early childhood council side. So as of yesterday afternoon, we have that fixed. And so there should not be any issues with visibility now on those pending licenses. And thank you guys for your patience on that. We really appreciate it. But if you have any issues at all, seeing anything in your views for these applications, definitely reach out to us and we'll get you what you need for sure. And we can also then troubleshoot if there's issues going on with the view of those applications. Like I said earlier, we are adding detail to the guidance. Lots of great questions came in, and it was just gave us an opportunity to say, yep, we should add that detail. It's and it should help a little bit with just kind of navigating. It's hard sometimes when we do these updates or you get some of this documentation, but you don't have an application on your desk. And we realize then when an application comes, all of a sudden you need some support. So don't worry about asking questions. And definitely we're here to help for that. So let's see what else. Okay, we have had this question come up more than once, and so I just added it here. So funds cannot be used to buy a home or a building or to plan for a community childcare, programming issue or like planning grant. But once they have bought their home or they have secured a building, that's when those funds can be used to actually establish the childcare program. And Debbie and I and some of the licensing specialists will be on the Hot Topics call tomorrow at 11:30. And so we want to, just let you guys know that today was just kind of an update on the statistics and what we're working on. But tomorrow we can get down in the weeds with any questions that you have. And that might even help us. We'll share out those new the new guidance updates and those sorts of things too. So, but it also just will help us too to figure out if there's things we're missing that are questions that we can clear up. So that will be tomorrow afternoon at 11:30. We'll jump on. Okay. So feel free to jot down your questions or get your questions prepared for tomorrow, and we will continue our conversation at that point in time.
Just one comment. It says, we so appreciate all the hard work from everyone on making these grants work.
Yeah, it's a new process for all of us, and the nice thing about this, we know there's more grants coming. And we're kind of working through some of this time. The next couple should smooth out, really. And we have another great, a position was posted, a month or so ago for a grant manager. And so we're excited that Debbie and I will actually get to be part of those interviews coming up next week. And that person will take over the management of some of these new grants, along with getting up to speed with this E&E grant. And so we will, at some point in time here, hopefully in May, we will be introducing a new person, a new resource for everyone once they get up to speed. And that will, I think, will help us all with somebody who's super laser focused on these grants and how we can support people. So,
but we absolutely love having these grants, and this is probably my project I enjoy the most. So it's been fun.
It's a lot of work, but it's been fun. Debbie's right. We really have enjoyed it, and we've really enjoyed talking to you guys as you have brought up your questions. So thank you guys for being patient on this one. Okay, I think we can go on. Monica?
Thanks, Karen. Thanks, Debbie. So next we just have a quick update from the PDG team. So I see Kristen's on here and Angela. Do you guys have a screen you want to share, slide deck today?
Yes, we do.
And will you be sharing, Kristen?
Yeah, I can share. I have it pulled up.
Okay.
Okay, are you able to see?
Yep.
Okay. Let's go into presentation mode. All right, and so just to verify one more time, you can see the screen here.
Yep, looks good.
Okay. Great. All right, so good afternoon, everyone. This is Kristen Lang, Program Access Manager with the Preschool Development Grant Unit at the Office of Early Childhood. And Angela, do you want to introduce yourself? If Angela's on, we'll have her introduce herself later. I'll get started. So we have a number of updates for you all, and as always, we'll be sending the slides over to Monica. So, Angela just chatted me and said she doesn't have audio. So Angela, we're happy to know you're with us, and if you get audio, we'll hear from you soon. So we will send the slides over to Monica because, as we've done in the past, we hyperlinked a lot of materials in here that I'm sure you'll want to go back and take a look at once we're done presenting. And so yes, we will get started. So first, around the business training and consultation updates that we're offering through our small business development centers, we had a few pieces of information we wanted to highlight and emphasize for you all. Many of you were involved in giving us your feedback from an early childhood council perspective, whether you had providers in your community that participated or you attended the training and supported the SBDCs about how we could make our business training and consultation work better this year. And another thing that we did to collect information about whether as it existed sort of in that first iteration, the business training was effective, was that participants completed a survey on the last day of class. And one of the questions that was asked was whether there was some change in their business knowledge before the training and then after the training. And so what we wanted to share back with you all, because some of you knew that that survey was happening, and it took us some time to just validate the results and put it all together, but we had 76 licensed providers complete the survey, and so we didn't include those that may not have entered a license number at this point. But of the licensed providers, we found that there was a statistically significant increase in how they felt about their business knowledge from pre to post training. So we were really excited to share that with you all, because while there are a lot of facets of the training that I think we're excited to improve on in this second iteration, even in that first round, we made a significant difference in terms of what folks knew before the training series and then afterward. So that was a good thing to see, and we wanted to share that with you. This slide, for some reason, isn't showing the video, but I wasn't gonna play it anyway because we don't have. Oh, here it comes. It's loading. We probably don't have time to play this now, but when we send the slides out, or when Monica sends the slides out, we'd love for you to take a minute to watch the video that's linked here. And what this is a story of a family childcare home provider who completed the training series that was offered last year through the North Metro Small Business Development Center. And it's about what she learned in the course of that training and how it helps support her business. It's a quick watch. It's about 3 minutes long, but I think particularly for those councils that haven't had an opportunity to participate in the trainings or may not have had a provider that participated, it's a really great way to see some of the practical tidbits of information that are shared in this opportunity. So we hope you'll take a look, and we're so thankful to the Small Business Development Center, the North Metro Small Business Development Center, for putting this together. And we would love for you all to share it with your providers as well. It's starting right now. Maybe we'll go back and watch it if we wrap up early, we'll see. So as we've discussed before, in terms of this year, the business training the series that are available continue to be virtual. So they're done in some sort of Zoom or Google Meets or some sort of online software, which means that providers from anywhere in the state could conceivably participate in any of the trainings. So again, even if a small business development center in your community isn't taking part in this project, we encourage you to encourage your providers in your community to sign up for someone else's, because the business information is definitely universal across the state. Again, we've developed, based on feedback from you all last year, specific training tracks, and so we're trying to make that really clear in our promotional materials, whether a training is targeted to centers, to family childcare homes, or to either centers or family childcare homes that are starting up and expanding. So those are the 3 buckets. And then finally, just to reiterate that folks who participate in the business training do receive PDIS credit hours for that training. So we're ensuring that everybody's going through the training alignment process with our colleagues at CDE, so they get that credit. One thing that we've changed this year is that folks have to attend every training in order to get credit at all. Last year we did it by class, but what we found in talking with the trainers was that the true benefit is for somebody who's getting all of the content, and that's what we want to recognize in the professional development information system. And that was based on how we do this awarding of credit for other similar series of topic area trainings. So the good news is we've also told our trainers, hey, you know, providers get busy, and so it may be the case that they need to miss a class one time, and so make the training available for recording. And so folks can, if they have to miss an in-person class, watch the recording and still be able to verify with the trainer and get that credit. So you may have seen some of the more recent marketing material that we put out, but we do have business training up and running. So starting last Saturday, we had the Pikes Peak session kick off for family childcare homes. The budgeting, cash flow, and taxes for childcare providers is an on-demand series of 9 modules. It's different from the other ones that are structured like classes. And so for this one in particular, you know, a provider could access it at any time. But to do the professional development for this one, we said you've got to attend all 9 modules and at least 2 consultation sessions. So there's that verifiable check for knowledge there. We really want to emphasize 2 business trainings we have starting soon. One is a Spanish language training for family childcare homes that's starting April 7th. I know as of the last time we checked in with Aurora South Metro, they had 4 spots left. So if you know of a family childcare home provider whose primary language is Spanish who might be interested, please encourage them to sign up. And then also we have business fundamentals for childcare centers, which our North Metro partners are running starting April 8th. And this is specifically for centers with 75 or fewer capacity. We put a few details about some trainings that will be coming up soon in May and June, just so you have awareness of what's coming down the pike, but we don't have exact details on those just yet. Also want to emphasize that business consultation is available now. While we found that last year, a lot of the consultation happened in the context of the training and with people who were participating in the training, you can also access consultation independent of the training. And we've updated the consultation sheet. This year, what we're going to try is having each, you know, provider connect to the SBDC and their county first, and then if it's for an issue that requires particular industry knowledge, they'll be supported and then also looped in with one of the SBDCs who's received more training from us on how to particularly help our family childcare homes and our childcare centers in those beginning childcare business. But then the other exciting thing about the new consultation sheet is you'll see much more support listed out for folks for whom English is not their first language. And so I encourage you to take a peek at that. Just a quick reminder, I know we talked about this the last few state TA days, but we do have GAE funding for early childhood councils to be involved in this project. While each SBDC that is training is going to pick one early childhood council to maybe consult on their curriculum and be their go-to during the training classes, we've made it an option for early childhood councils to attend any SBDC childcare business training that's going on, so you have a sense of what it involves. So that's new this year. We opened that up. If you have questions about that, reach out to me and Angela. And then also we have some funding for miscellaneous coaching, which means basically the time it might take for you to engage with your local SBDC and be able to share with them what you're able to offer and vice versa. So again, hyperlinked all the documents you would need as a council to be able to access the GAE for this purpose and to engage in this project. We have it all on a shared drive, which we shared last year. The link is the same. And And in that shared drive, you'll find the contact sheet for ECCs and SBDCs, which you can update, the ECC guidance for this year for using that GAE funding, the prior approval form, which is required for attending childcare business training and for consulting on the curriculum development, and also the invoice form. I'm gonna just take a quick pause, Monica. I realize that I'm a little bit over now, and I don't know how much time I have, so I just want to take a quick check-in.
You're fine. You guys are actually our last presenters of the day, and we have until 2:30. So go ahead.
Oh, okay, then I'll take a breath. Okay, so let me see if I'm seeing a chat message. Oh, Angela, thank you. Put in the link for the video. Okay, perfect. So let's see, the CDA updates and observation waiver. So the next deadline for the CDA scholarship application is going to be coming up in May. So that's the second of the 3 that we're offering this year. Other relevant updates are that the CDA observation waiver is still open, and Angela's hyperlinked that form on the slides, so you can take a look at it. And there will soon be PD specialist recruitment efforts. So the next Council for Professional Recognition PD specialist application period is in June. So keep an eye out for that. I did not cover that as well as Angela would have, so I'm just going to encourage her, if I missed anything key, to put it in the chat unless her audio is back.
Can you hear me now? Here?
Yes, I can. Yes, Angela. Anything else on the CDAs?
No, I did want to share with everybody that we have been working on our language diversity abilities through the CDA scholarship, and that's where that PD specialist recruitment is going to come in handy. So we're really going to target folks that speak other languages to become PD specialists. So we're doing some work with within PDIS right now to understand maybe some of the professionals that are out there, and we may reach out to councils to help us maybe disseminate a survey in the near future if we're not able to get good data out of PDIS as we're going through the refresh. So they're doing a lot of back-end work right now that may mean we can't get a clean report for this, in which case we'll want to do a survey across the state to see how many professionals are A, qualified to become a PD specialist, and then B, again, if they're able to speak other languages beyond English, to do the observations, because that will make the CDA a much more accessible credential for recruiting new early childhood teachers across the state. So keep an eye out for that, because I think councils are, I know a lot of you already have PD specialists on staff, and I think you're going to be a great driver in helping us understand what language needs you have in your communities, because there's also a possibility of working with representatives in other states to maybe fill some gaps, especially nearer to our border counties. And then just some other exciting things for the CDA are going to be announced very soon, but you may have heard through the grapevine at some point now that the community college system is going to be able to offer credit for ECE 101 for those that take a prior learning assessment. So those CDA credits will finally be recognized for 3 credit hours towards ECE 101 in the near future. So I don't think they've launched their prior learning assessment test yet. I'm waiting for confirmation from the community college system, but we're really excited to see that be a universal offering in the state. So again, more to come on CDA, some very exciting developments. And feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. Thanks for covering all of the business stuff as well, Kristen. I apologize that my audio was coming in and out at the beginning. So I'll pass it back to you for the inclusion and universal design work.
Great. I'm so glad it started working so you could share all that other important information I would have completely missed. So yes, exciting news on the Inclusion and Universal Design project. Some of you all have been maybe more engaged with this recently and talks about the lending library for inclusive materials and that pilot experience. But for others, it may be a while since we talked about this project. So I just want to remind folks that the focus of the Inclusion and Universal Design Project really is to create more inclusive and universally designed early education settings in our state. And so utilizing the experts from the Center for Inclusive Design and Engineering at the University of Colorado, Denver, the cohort members who participate receive small group coaching around how they can adapt their environment and learning materials in the different developmental domains. So maybe around communication or gross motor might be a second session, and then do individual reflection sessions with the experts at the center, which I'm going to call SIDE because that's their acronym. In between, they also receive a really comprehensive and great inclusion and universal design training that SIDE puts on, as well as an inclusive classroom supports kit, which provides a lot of low-tech materials that they can use to adapt their learning environment and their educational materials in their classrooms. And finally, because we were able to get the lending library up and running last year, they'll be able, as cohort members, to access that inclusive lending library so they can test out different inclusive items in their classrooms. So this is what cohort members get. In the first year, last year, we had 25 members, and we've done a ton of reflecting on how we can improve the program for this second cohort. And one of the things we're really being intentional about is being very clear with folks up front about what the technology requirements are to fully participate in this, as well as the time commitment, so that people are better able to determine whether it's the right fit for their program. We know a bunch of folks have things going on, but the true benefit comes when folks are able to fully participate in the cohort. So we're hoping they'll self-select themselves either in or out, depending on their capacity, with clear parameters up front. So the application for the second cohort will open tomorrow. I've linked the application there. What you'll find, because it's basically an application done through a survey, is that you won't be able to access the survey until tomorrow, but at least you have the link if you would share with providers or with your coaches who work with providers who know that they may want to do this deep dive into inclusive and universal design practices. We would really appreciate you helping us get the word out. I'll send some written communication around this as well, and the application closes on Sunday, April 18th. We're going to have 48 providers this time, so almost doubling the cohort. And again, if we have more providers apply than 48, we will be doing some prioritization based on historically marginalized or underserved populations, to make sure that we have a mix of urban and rural providers, as well as a mix of homes and centers. So I would again encourage you to take a minute to read about the experience of the first cohort in the linked here on the slide. It's an article actually that was put together about some of the providers that participated in the first cohort and what this training, coaching, supportive materials opportunity meant for their classrooms. And definitely encourage providers to apply. I believe that's it. So are there any questions that came in, or does anyone have questions now?
No questions.
Okay. Well, then that is all from us.
Thank you guys so much. Does my team, Michelle or Charlie or Karen, have anything else to add? Otherwise, we can end a few minutes early.
I'm good. I'm looking forward to chatting with a few of you tomorrow.
All right, have a great rest of your afternoon, everyone, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.